Pleasant evening, Zimbabwe, and welcome to tonight's weather report and forecast with mostly sunny skies over much of the country this morning, but it became cloudier as clouds were drifting in from the west as well as from the northern parts of the country. This is the cloud system that we're currently monitoring, which is drifting in from Botswana into Matabeleland north and south, but the thicker belt is still near Namibia. We were expecting it to infiltrate the country as we get into the later parts of this week. But for tonight, we have clouds drifting in from the west, making it rather mild over the western parts, and it's cooler over the eastern parts of the country, where we're still expecting clearer skies. This is our image for today, where we have clearance over those eastern parts with moisture drifting into the western parts of the country as we get into the morning hours, making it rather mild over those western parts, but cooler conditions over the eastern parts because of that lack of moisture. Thus, we're still expecting a few odd showers over parts of Matabeleland north and Matabeleland south for much of this week. It should be in the cool category over these eastern parts with temperatures about 13 degrees. A few single digits cannot be ruled out, especially over areas such as Nyanga. But by afternoon, we should warm up across board. We're expecting most of them to be above 30, especially over these western areas of Matabeleland province. Thus, Bulawayo has a maximum of 30 for the first few days. But our minimums are conditioned to watch. We're expecting them to fall to about 10 degrees as we get into Friday. Same for Matopo, our minimums also falling as the atmosphere dries up, thus giving us sunny conditions by afternoon on Friday. For Kwanda, we're expecting it to also warm up by afternoon to about 32, but our minimums also falling to about 10 degrees Celsius as we get into the weekend. We're also influenced by the drying out of the conditions, making our minimums fall to about 11 degrees into the weekend. For Masvingo, we're expecting them to also fall slightly because of that drying effect, but for the first few days it's in the mild category. Wintry weather in the morning over Mutare, but it warms up to about 31 by afternoon. Also chilling over Nyanga, but also by afternoon it should warm up with more of the sunny skies. A few cold events over Marandera by morning, but it should also warm up with sunny skies projected. The Harare in the cool category by morning, but it warms up by afternoon to about 27 degrees, 28 as we get into Wednesday. Kadoma also in the 30 category for much of the week by afternoon. Fortunately, we're expecting it to be in the mild category for most of the mornings. Warms up to about 29 and 30 for much of this week. And for Victoria Falls, we're expecting mild conditions by afternoon. A few 12s later on this week. Same for Lupana, we're expecting it to drop as we get into Friday, but afternoons should be warm enough for the bulk of the week. Same for Benura, we're expecting 30s, and Kariba also in the warm category by afternoon, and mild conditions overnight. That's it for weather and forecast. Been a pleasure, Zimbabwe. I'm James Koma Jr. for the Met Department.